Hello, everyone, and welcome to this reaction/review of the 5th episode of Total Drama Island the Reboot Season 2. So this was an interesting episode in terms of character development and storyline. However, I gotta be honest, some things were written weirdly and made no sense. So in this video, I will go through the episode, tell you what I thought and how I might have changed things around, because let's be honest, that elimination was weird, iconic, but weird. As usual, this video will contain spoilers because I will talk about the episode, so if you haven't seen the episode, then you should not watch this video unless you want to be spoiled. Just like every episode, we start with some interactions, and I really loved it this episode specifically because that was 5 minutes of the campers interacting. That's 25% of the episode, which I love because usually we just get 2 short segments, then a long challenge, and then directly into the elimination. So this episode starts with my girl Priya and her boy Caleb. At this point, they are still friends, but they are hanging out a lot. Priya's still falling for him, stand up girl, and Caleb is still only thinking about the alliance. I love them together and always have been rooting for them. And y'all called me delusional that this would not happen. People commented on my last video that Wayne and Julia are more likely to happen than Priya and Caleb. Now look at you. Now I have noticed that Priya and Caleb have almost had a segment at the beginning of every episode so far, except episode 3. I know a lot of people might think that it's too much and there might be a reason for it, and we'll explain that later. They are running together until they see this monstrosity. Ripper and Axel have been kissing all night long. I was afraid that they would go this path. I'm happy for them. The build-up for their relationship was quick and cute, and now it's not cute any longer. I wanted them to be a corny and awkward middle school couple that tries too hard and then gets embarrassed a lot. But no, we get the kissy kiss couple that kiss a lot, and good for them, I guess. Like, I really wanted Ripper to still try too hard to get Axel's attention because that was what made him fun this season. We have another Priya segment. This time she is kissing her pillow, pretending it is Caleb. Yes, our girl is down bad. Very bad, if I can say so myself. Z walks in and thinks the pillows are suffocating her and kills Pillow Caleb. Priya finally admits to Z that she likes Caleb, and Z is not allowed to tell anyone. Finally, Z gets a purpose. Before he was just vibing. Now he has a storyline, and he now has a huge role in the Priya and Caleb situation. Very good for him. He is gonna try throughout the episode not to spill the secret, and we all know how Z is with secrets. Remember in episode 4, where he exposed Priya's strategy to Emma? I think that was some foreshadowing of what will come next few episodes. Now we go to Team Skunk Butt, and they are still doing cheating with MK and Julia. Bowie wants to stop cheating because Raj does not like it. What they are basically doing is that they are distracting Raj and Wayne so they don't bother about the cheating. MK comes back and tells them that the challenge is some kind of maze, so she needs to trace it out somewhere. Julia says there is no paper around, no printer, no whiteboard, no anything. So Ripper suggests just using his stomach, and it looks like Ripper is okay with cheating, which we kind of expected. Interestingly, he does not tell Axel anything about it. We now have had 2 episodes of cheating. It's a cool, interesting, and super fun storyline, but here is my problem with it. Skunk Butts are a team with well-written, very developed characters and has a lot of screen time. When they skip the challenges or basically don't participate in them, they use that extra time to develop more than they already are, which is good. But looking at the other team, we have Nichelle, Damien, and Z, who barely get screen time or development. They are stuck doing the challenges where they can't really develop as much as the others. This episode was a prime example of that, where the Skunk Butts basically had their own sideshow. Meanwhile, the Rat Faces are doing a challenge where their plot is to complete the challenge, and it becomes very unequal in the character development. And that's why Priya and Caleb usually get that beginning segment of every episode so they can develop their relationship where they have to be alone together. Even though we get some crumbs during the challenges, those are just not enough. The next episode is a good example of that. When someone doesn't compete, they have time to develop. I just wish that extra time was disturbed more evenly because right now, it's only the skunk butts who have that extra non-challenge screen time. That is why I loved the beginning segment of this episode, because it was screen time for almost everyone. Next, we have Nichelle and Damien smack-talking with the skunk butts, and this was a big red flag to me. I know this sounds weird, but as soon as I saw Nichelle talking or interacting with someone else, I knew it was over for our girl. All Nichelle has done is doing well at challenges and talking about Hollywood. Now, 5 episodes in, she finally decides to talk to someone, which is not good because it's unusual. The same thing happened last season where Nichelle got her real introduction in episode 3. It was just unusually late. Right now, it's so late seeing Nichelle interact with someone, it's weird. So, something is up. And up to this episode, it has been very easy to spot who goes home. So I wasn't surprised in the end. You might think this is the same thing for Z, but the difference with Z is that he became a part of something, which is the Priya and Caleb thing, which already existed. With Nichelle, it was new. Her interacting with someone is new, and something shouldn't be new in episode 5, especially when it's so unnatural or different behavior from what we are used to. Basically, I'm saying they should be more equal when it comes to screen time, and we shouldn't be surprised when someone does something simple like interacting with another person. It ends up with some insults between Julia and Nichelle. In a confessional, Julia says that Nichelle is gonna pay for this, and directly after, it's challenge time. So it doesn't look like Julia has much time to prepare something for Nichelle before the challenge starts. I know it is weird to point this out, but it makes sense later on. So the challenge is pretty simple. The teams will head into this iceberg with a boat, and they need to retrieve 3 keys. At the iceberg, they can choose between path 1 or 2. Path 1 is a maze where they have to somehow melt their way to retrieve the keys. Meanwhile, path 2 is kind of like an obstacle course where they have to complete an obstacle to retrieve each key. Once they collected their 3 keys, they can unlock their Chris medallion and then head back to Chris. The first team to come back to Chris with their medallion wins the challenge. The rat faces arrive first at the iceberg, and they choose the obstacle course, which I think was the right decision considering they have Priya, Nichelle, Caleb, and Axel, who are all very good at the physical aspect. The skunk butts choose the maze because they have the map for it, but Raj and Wayne do not know that and wonder what the team is up to, but goes along with them. At the maze, the skunk butts see a shiny ice field, which Raj and Wayne are amazed by. MK gives them some ice skates so they can have fun. Meanwhile, she, Julia, Bowie, and Ripper go and find the key. They found a key and used a hairdryer MK took from Chris to melt the ice, and I thought that was a genius idea. Now we go to the other side, where we have the rat faces, who are at their first obstacle, where they either cross a wall with boots coming out of it, or somehow climb up the wall and take the key from there. I really love the rat faces during this challenge because they are really working as a team, and seeing them all respect Priya as a team leader is just nice compared to the other team where no one cares about Bowie. Rat faces has super good synergy with each other. As a team, it's just sad they have no one to compete with, and I thought this challenge could be very exciting. As this episode goes on, Chris's hair is a mess because MK stole his hairdryer, so Chef tries to fix it. There's not so much happening here, but it's fun to see Chris being a little bit more involved without being so mean and evil to the campers, and it's always fun to see some Chris and Chef moments. After the skunk butts receive their first key, Bowie slips up and suggests that they could just melt their way through the cave, which Julia and MK think is brilliant. On one hand, this is fun to watch the cheating storyline, but on the other hand, at this point, they aren't even participating in the challenge, which is kind of a bummer. I wish the cheating they did involved just more advantages for them and made the challenge easier for them, but now they are straight up skipping the challenges, which is kind of unfair for the rat faces who spend every episode doing the challenge, but I get it, it's total drama and it makes sense for the storyline we have. Rat faces are now at their second obstacle, where they have to run through a field where cannons will launch the evil seals at them. As usual, there is not much happening on this side, as all they do is work together as a team to get the key. The only conflict they have on the team is Z constantly almost slips up about Priya's crush on Caleb, which causes him to drink a can of soda to not say anything. It's fun to finally see Z having a purpose in the season, and seeing him struggle is an absolute joy, and we all know that he will slip up eventually. The skunk butts find their medallion, and this is where Raj notices that they have used Ripper's stomach to trace the map of the maze and realize that they cheated again. The moment where Wayne is asking what's going on is also very cute, but they are really making Wayne more of an airhead than I thought. Like, I knew he was not smart, but at least Raj's brain works. Raj and Wayne threaten to tell Chris about the cheating, but Julia reflects with that if he does that, he will have to tell on Bowie as well, and Raj gets those sad eyebrows. See, my thumbnail wasn't clickbait after all. Instead of collecting the keys, Meek and Julia will just melt their way through the safe, as well as the other teams. So now we are back at the rat faces, and this time they have to jump through 3 icebergs to retrieve their final key. Z suddenly has to pee thanks to the amount of soda he drank, so the team lets him, and as they wait, they strategize. After Z is done peeing, they realize his pee melted one of the icebergs, so now it will be much harder to cross. After many attempts of failures, Nichelle gets the idea to Caleb to throw her across the icebergs, and of course it works because it is Nichelle, the best action movie star ever. After Nichelle gets the key, they have one more problem, and that is how do they get up there again? Well, no problem. Teamwork makes the dream work. We are back at the skunk butts, and Wayne is mad at his teammates for cheating. Meanwhile, Raj is mad at Bowie. Woohoo, our first gay crack, but it's pretty minor. However, since words can't make up for it, he has another idea. A snowball hits Julia, and she turns around and realizes the boys want a snowball fight, and it's game on. As she got hit, she dropped the hairdryer, who is continuing heating the ice floor. It's MK, Julia, and Ripper versus the boys, and it's kind of fun to see Ripper joining the girls. Who expected Ripper to be the one to be with the ladies this season? I think he is about to be a girly pop soon. But after a while, the ice cracks thanks to the hairdryer, and the skunk butts fall down with the frozen Sasquatchanaqua. As Team Rat Faces find their safe, they wonder what happened because it is a mess, but they see their coin and think they are in the lead. So they use their sled to get out of the iceberg and are now heading back to Chris with their boat. The team who had almost 0 problems is now in the lead and is about to win, and we all know what that means. The other team somehow gets a comeback because that's how it usually goes. So down at the bottom, the skunk butts landed on a snow pile. And Julia actually asks if everyone is okay, which was interesting. I would have expected her to say something like, I hope y'all are dead except my MK. But I guess there is still some good in her. They wake up the angry Sasquatchanaqua who chases them, but in the next scene, they all get into their slide. Now hold on a minute. So you're telling me this big-ass Yeti was this close to you all, and somehow all of you were able to climb up the ladder and not get caught? Come on now, that is some bullshit. At least one of them should be dead now. How is it possible they all made it out alive? This is totally plot armor. Why even bother having the Sasquatchanaqua in this episode if it's not even going to be a threat? Not a single little threat. Also, Ripper is promoting the new Smurf movie, so check that out. As the skunk butts slide out of the cave, MK broke the brake. So instead of sinking, they are now skipping on the water and crashing into the Rat Faces boat, which sinks. The skunk butts continue on their skipping and crash into some rocks, and they all land on the dock. They show up their medallion and win the challenge. This means that the Rat Faces are heading to elimination, again for the 3rd time. It kind of sucks because I am rooting for the Rat Faces, and after seeing everyone in this episode, I think no one deserves to go home. So, right before the elimination, the Rat Faces has a short meeting where Priya apologizes for the team losing. After the meeting, Nichelle notices something on her bed, and as she opens it, she is smiling. Now, I have a lot of issues with this particular thing, mostly because of how or when did this happen, which I will talk about later. So going into the elimination, the episode wants us to think Z is leaving because of his peeing, but after Nichelle having her appearance at the beginning of the episode, as well as the papers she just found, she is the only one smiling during the quick sequence. It's obvious our girl Nichelle will be heading home tonight. At the elimination ceremony, Chef usually tells them about who had the worst performance in this episode, but this time he doesn't have to, since Nichelle interrupts him. I was actually wondering who had the worst performance of the Rat Faces, and I think the bottom would be Z for obvious reasons, maybe Damien for not wanting to go through Path 2, maybe even Axel because she didn't really do well today, or even Caleb for not avoiding the skunks in the end. As I was thinking about this, I was also wondering what would Chef even say if the skunk butts were at the elimination, because MK hasn't been caught yet, so it would be very hard to do the worst performance for their team. I think that's why they let them win 3 times in a row and had an early merge to avoid this situation. So Nichelle interrupts him and tells everyone that she got a contract for 3 picture movies, and she needs to head back to LA tomorrow, so she simply quits. That's it for Nichelle, she just goes. It is then revealed that Julia wrote a fake contract before the challenge started and put it on her bed. You know the time between that confessional and when the challenge started? Yeah, during that time, she wrote a contract and printed it. If you forget, here is the amount of time Julia had to write that contract.
She's gonna pay for that!
It's challenge time!
We also see MK being caught by Chris, which we will talk more about in the next episode. So let's be clear here, the elimination made sense, but it was so badly executed because it's another that happened off-screen elimination, and I hate those. We are gonna have another one as well, and the writers just need to stop doing those kinds of eliminations, because you can just come up with something at the last minute to eliminate someone. Like the next episode, we can have Z getting eaten by a lion right before elimination. As long as someone said that happened in the confessional, it's valid and it happened. However, it shows that Julia is still able to do her tricks without cheating, unlike MK, who still can only do things with cheating. I think we should not underestimate Julia, and she might go further this season than anyone thought. If you guys want, I might make another long video on how I would play out this episode, but there are 2 scenarios I would go for. One is that during the Nichelle and Julia argument, Julia says something like Nichelle wasn't even a good actor, so Nichelle wants to prove that during the challenge, so she does stunts and parkour during the challenges, but forgets about the keys, maybe even turns around their boat to purposely crash with the skunk butts to create the perfect action movie shot. Or during the challenge, maybe Julia would be less involved with her team and focus on writing that contract on her phone. This would make Bowie more involved in the cheating with MK and cause more drama between Raj and Bowie. Also, where in the world did Julia get that paper? Remember when she said she had no paper? There is much more I would change for this episode. So, what do I think about Nichelle in the end? Sadly, she flopped again. This happens every time. I hype her up so much, make her my winner pick just for her to flop pre-merge. Next time, I will just say that Nichelle is the worst contestant ever, and then she might win. You gotta use reverse psychology when it comes to Nichelle. She had her moments in episode 1, but after that, she was so boring. With no storyline, all she did was do well in challenges and shit talk Hollywood. Literally every single confessional she had was the same. She is still a queen, but I am so disappointed in what they did with Nichelle, which was nothing. They did nothing with her. I honestly think that Nichelle could not be voted out during the team phase because she is a good asset for the team. So they just came up with this weird-ass elimination. That was it for my reaction/review of episode 5. I did not expect it to be this long. What did you think about it? Comment down below also, what do you think about my longer reactions? Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, as well as join me on my next Total Drama Interactive, where you can join other viewers and play out a whole season of Total Drama in just a few hours. If you are watching this the week this video is published, then I will be live on Saturday for another fun stream. Thanks for watching and see you all later. Bye!